Show is sponsored by Carpet Direct of Des Moines, Iowa. Welcome to Half Full and a Cup of Joe with Joe Fulford, the show that's always overflowing with optimism and caffeine. Joe's got his game face on and his coffee cup full, ready to dive into the world of football. From the Florida Gators to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and beyond to college and NFL football, Joe's got the analysis, the insights, and the passion to get you pumped up and ready for the game. So sit back, relax, and fill up your cup with Joe. And now from West Des Moines, Iowa, here is Joe Fulford.
Wow, you had that moment where you just have to sit back and reflect and try and figure out just what happened. Yeah, I mean that's what you people are probably doing right now. Try and figure out, what happened Sunday afternoon in Ray J. No, Monday, no, Sunday night in Ray J. Been a tough 4 days. I gotta be honest. It's been a tough 4 days for me trying to figure out, just what happened and why it happened. But at the same time, you can't be disappointed by what happened, because we all knew that going into the game that there was not going to be a high scoring affair. It was going to be a defensive battle. We all knew that. By the way, welcome to the season finale version of the 24-25 Half Full Cup of Joe show. Yes, my last show for the year. I take a little breather and get ready for the off season, and we may do something, and we might talk about that a little bit later on the show. But man, you see these guys playing, and they sometimes play like diddly squat, and other times they're playing so well. It's like, wow, this is the Buccaneers truly have a chance. And you can't blame. I want to hear people blaming Todd Bowles for this. Okay, you're talking about a coach that's taken this team to 4 consecutive division titles. Actually, 3, because Bruce Arians took us to a division title and a Super Bowl. Then Todd takes over. But the work that he's done has been fantastic. And Dan Lucas is going to join me in just a minute as he gets done eating the free pizza I left for him in the showroom. So, he'll join me here in just a minute to discuss all that. But you can't be disappointed by what this team has done, despite all the injuries. And as I bring in my good friend Dan Lucas on this fourth day of mourning, Dan, I don't know. I am kind of relieved that it's over with, but at the same time, I'm just like, I'm just still in awe of what happened,
Are you so this is the 4th day of mourning, you said?
It's the 4th day of mourning for me. I mean, look. I mean, you know me. I'm a diehard Buccaneers fan. I'm not even taking this thing off yet. My wife is mad at me because it stinks.
The scary thing right now is that Liam Cohen's interview with the Jaguars went past midnight last night. I think he was with them for
whoa.
10 hours.
Okay. Well, let's come. Okay, so that's the what you call it in the show business, the spin, what the lead. I mean,
burying the lead. Yes.
Burying kind of like lead. Burying the lead, and we're going to get into all that in just a couple of minutes. He's Dan Lucas, sports director at WFLA-TV channel. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm sorry because I forgot the Lightning were playing tonight, and the first intermission all tied at 1-1. So but. That's hockey, We're talking football here.
Hockey season started when that game ended Sunday night for a lot of people here.
Oh man,
catch up with the Lightning. What are the Lightning doing now?
Yeah, I mean, as we look back on this, on let's first talk about the game Sunday night. same old team. You think that this team is going to play well. That they have a chance to do some very good things, but they never could really get things going. And it's like, what do you got to do to light a fire under this offense?
Yeah. Well, sadly, it started out, the Bucs had a long drive that ended with a field goal.
Yeah.
And then the Commanders had a longer drive. It went 92 yards or 72 yards and 19 plays. It was something ridiculous, over 9 minutes. And that started this ridiculous discrepancy in time of possession. And the culprit behind it was the defense just couldn't get off the field.
Yeah.
Third downs, the Commanders are well known as a team that goes for it on fourth down, and the Bucs did. They got them to turn it over on downs a couple of times, but they possessed that football, keep your team off the field, and by the end of the game, the Bucs had 7 total possessions. It was just perfectly executed by Washington, and the Bucs just couldn't get off the field defensively. They had some very, very costly mistakes on both sides of the football, especially with Zion McCollum had a couple of really costly penalties, one putting the ball in the one pass interference.
Yep.
And then of course you had the sequence that to me was the game. The Commanders are down inside the 10. They have 4th and goal. They go for it, and the Bucs get off the field. They get the ball back. Everybody's pumped up. Stadium's ready to go. And what do the Bucs do? Turn it over on an attempted jet sweep to Jalen McMillan, which was kind of a weird play call in that part of the field. But like Baker said after the game, we run that thing a million times, and first time we dropped it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, why are you even running something like that? Why don't you?
Yeah.
Why are you doing something unconventional? You're doing everything. You're working. Your offense is working so well. Why do something like that? I know you want to keep the defense off balance, but to do something like that, I mean, flea flicker is one thing. Flea flicker is one thing, but you do something like that. I mean, it was just mind-boggling to me.
So you can't give them the ball on the 13-yard line. That's basically it. That's a fresh set of downs. It would have been just as bad if they had a 4th down play and then gave them a fresh set of downs on a penalty defensively. But
that was in the third quarter, right?
Yeah. Yes. So I believe it was early. Might have been early 4th. I'm trying not to get the time sequences wrong. And then the Bucs, of course, had the ball, a short yardage situation. The early snap through the playoff, and Bucky Irving was, tackled for a loss. And, they wound up settling for a field goal on a drive when it should have been a touchdown drive. So, that's a 14-point swing when you look at those two sequences that had this game tied, essentially, ready to go to overtime. And then the final drive, you settled for the field goal. You just gave the ball to Jaden Daniels, something he's done really as the season progressed. It became the norm for him to win on the last possession, and that's what he did. Kalijah Kancey has his hands on him on 3rd and 2. Gets a fresh set of downs inside a minute to go in the game, and that was it. And then, of course, one last slap in the face was the kick that eliminated the Bucs, goes in off the upright.
Oh, I'm like, I see that, and I say to myself, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, come on, did he miss it? And then I saw the angle go, and I knew right away that they had.
Yeah.
By the way,
so
that was in fact. That was in the first part of the 4th quarter when then Baker fumbled the ball and they took over. And they go down and score, and then basically that was it. But I think for the Buck defense, they went down and had not once but 2 times Washington had it in goal line situations, and they stopped.
Yes.
And the Buck defense stopped them both times. So you would think the momentum swings in the Bucks' favor. And yet they do this turnover, and then just I don't know if the air was let out of this team, but yet they still played well enough to they should have really
Yeah,
truthfully they should have won,
it
but you know.
wasn't. It's one of those games that they didn't perform well overall, big picture, quite frankly, but should have gotten the win, able to move on, and then they could say after the game that was a wake up call, and then take their chances at Philly this weekend, and so that's what could have happened. It was, I think in the end the result was just because of the way the Commanders executed their game plan beautifully. They wanted to keep the Bucs and Baker Mayfield off the field. That's what they did, especially early in the game. The Bucs were really having a hard time getting things going offensively, and then pick things up later. But settling for a field goal late when they were down 20-17 was that was kind of a backbreaker for me. And I thought, well, if you get this to overtime, you're lucky. But
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was just, that's the fate, and that's how the playoffs go. And to the credit of Jaden Daniels, I mean, what a gamer! I mean, the first game of the season, if you remember, he came to Ray J. He had the legs. He was taking off. He was effective, but he was just swimming mentally. And Todd Bowles ran these blitzes and really had him just, his head was spinning. And not this last game. He has just really matured. Tremendous rookie quarterback. I think he and Bo Nix, really good rookie seasons. So that's pretty exciting for those fans to see those two guys get in. And I mean, and for Washington, I mean, this is a team that's been through it. And the ownership change, all the press off the field, the negative press, they get Dan Quinn in there. It's not a popular hire. And he comes in and they're in the playoffs. So, and they're going to go to the divisional round. So it's quite an accomplishment for them for sure. But for the Bucs, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think a lot of people were immediately saying Todd Bowles has to fall for this. And I'm not one of them. I mean, I know I'm a little Todd Bowles biased, but are you kidding me with that sentiment?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, why? And
Your head coach, who was put in not to be a scapegoat, but he was put in because Bruce Arians knew what was coming, and he did not want to be part of a rebuild. They were going to rebuild because they were in such a salary cap dilemma that this team had nowhere to go but down. So the front office navigated that in 2023-24, and they kept winning the division.
Yeah, so I mean, it was just
how are you supposed to argue with that?
More on that in just a minute, but real quick for Jaden Daniels in the game. 24-35, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns on the game. Baker 15 of 18 for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. He took his sack, but a fumble that everybody's talking about that's putting like a bad mark on him. I felt like, look, Baker played the game of his life and did everything that he could to try and pull it out, along with Bucky Irving, 17 to 10, 77 yards. I mean, that just
Baker had a play, I think it was in the third, where they were down close to their own end there, and they had nothing going. And it was I think it was over a 20-yard run.
Right.
And guys had their hands on him, and he didn't slide. He leaned forward. He took on a defender. I mean, two things happened. One, he got them out of trouble, a fresh set of downs. Two, it just got everybody in the stadium going. On a night, which, by the way, Animal, that place was absolutely rocking. It was one of the better atmospheres I've seen at a Bucs game in quite some time. It was
go
into
more details about that. I want to hear about the atmosphere.
It was just the fans were loud. They were into it. There was no lull, no down. Now there were a lot of Washington fans in there as well. So every time they'd make a play, you'd hear them. But the Bucs fans were bringing it. I thought the fans were loud. Sometimes they take some heat from those who either don't like the Bucs or just don't think that they're a great fan base, because sometimes there are games where it's kind of quiet and you hear all the visiting fans, because there's always a ton of visiting fans depending on the opponent. But it was really a great atmosphere, and the fans did their part, especially in that second half when this game got wild. I think the fans were great. So they fed off that Baker play for sure. That got the crowd going and it got the offense going as well. And it's just unfortunate that they couldn't finish it off and at least live to play another day, even though they didn't play their best game.
No, they didn't. But they had there was no reason to lose that game. But credit Jaden Daniels and taking him on that drive, enabling to win the game. I thought that I know we shouldn't be blaming the officials and everything, but let's be honest. Some of the calls in that game were downright controversial.
There were some calls there was a missed face mask.
Yes.
When Baker scrambled to the left side, he was right in front of the Bucs bench and they went nuts. That would have tacked on and put them in a better position. I'm trying to remember the time of the game when these things were. That was a critical point.
It was too. Yeah.
He was trying to run for a first down. They could have really used 15 yards after that. And he was also, I believe he also took a hit as he was going out of bounds. I think some fans thought that was a little bit out of line, but it was the face mask for me. As a matter of fact,
yeah,
they put a still shot of his head sideways with the hand on the face mask on the giant screens, and they left it there between the plays just for everyone to see.
Oh, and so that's why you heard the loud boo. They never showed that on TV.
Right.
Listen, look, I want to talk about you I just want to talk about you for just a minute, because I saw the show afterwards. And for fans and for people that don't know what goes behind the scenes for you, the game ends, and then you got to quickly do your live show. You only have 25 minutes to do that. And also you got to do a stand up at the beginning of the news broadcast. I mean, how frustrating is that? I mean, you signed up for it, but
it's hard on Sunday Night Football nights are hard when the Bucs play, because we're in the top of the news, which as soon as the game ends, you got about 10 minutes to be in place for the news, which sounds like it's not that big a deal. It's not, but you don't have access to the field till the entire field is cleared off. So that could be 4 minutes, could be 7 minutes. And then you got to set up and be ready to go. While that's happening, now you've got the first podium starting with Todd Bowles, usually right at that 10-minute mark after the game. So we set a camera up in there, and that's rolling back at the station. Someone's got to edit that. And then Baker goes to the podium. Then locker is open. And it's all has to be flipped really quickly here at the station. So there's a lot of people. Eileen Natchik was back here doing all the editing with the sound.
She did a great job.
The interviews and stuff like that. She was terrific Sunday night. I tell you, without her, and Kenny Morales was in the locker room with the great Bob Hansen. Getting all those interviews. So it's a team effort, and we've done it 2 times this year. We did it at Dallas a few weeks ago too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So
I'm just curious. Does Bob Hansen remember the animal?
Well, yeah. First of all, you're a living legend. I don't know why.
Well, that's true.
They don't have you in every Hall of Fame.
I know. I'm just mind boggled by that.
I think Bob would probably lead that charge for animal to be in both Cooperstown, Canton. Where's the Hockey Hall of Fame? Toronto.
I don't know about hockey, but
you should be the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. You should be there.
Urban Meyer. Speaking of which, Urban Meyer gets in, and also Nick Saban got in, and he found out during the semifinal games, and we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. And by the way, he did a great job on Bucs Bonus. So as always, great job as always.
Thank you. Another season in the books.
There you go. I know you're happy for that. You can take a few Sundays off. Let Kenny and the young lady do that. Real quick before we move on, talking more about the Bucks. Real quick, when the players are doing the live interviews, do y'all have a live feed going back to the station, or is it like we do the interviews, we take it back to the truck, we send it up, and then she edits it? Or is it like,
well, in that case, in that situation, where you're on it's basically a backpack unit that's sending it back to the station through almost like a gigantic cell phone.
Okay.
That's how this technology works now. It's
wow,
pretty
cool.
crazy. So yeah, you can basically stream virtually live from any locker room, anywhere, as long as you have a cell phone signal. Sometimes you have the loss of signal like a cell phone, but the technology is insane. And we can go a lot of places. We do it during the hockey season. We're live in the locker room after. So it's
That's
really
cool.
Makes things a lot easier. But for the most part, during the season, if it's a 1:00 game, we just edit everything and then send it back. Send it back. Nowadays, you can send between WeTransfer and other options. It's so simple to do things. We're spoiled. We used to have. I remember one time. I'll tell you one story. This is back when you had to send stuff over the satellite.
I know
to Tampa, and we were in San Francisco, and so what you used to do back in the day is you would go to the local NBC station, and you go in. They knew you were coming, and you'd go to the satellite room, and you'd feed your stuff back on tape to Tampa, and make it before the show started. So this particular day, we were Candlestick Park, and there was no NBC station in San Francisco anymore. It was in San Jose.
Oh no!
Which is, if you've ever driven around the Bay Area, it is south and east on the southeast portion of the Bay. And it was about almost an hour drive to San Jose to feed back to Tampa. Remember, you're on Eastern time feeding because you're on Pacific out there, but you're trying to beat the deadline on Eastern time of
I know.
So we were speeding down the 101 to San Jose, and we got everything in with just minutes to spare at 11:30 Eastern time. And when we were done, it's 8:30, and we had the whole night ahead of us. We were going to drive back to the city. So when I say we can do this like instantly from a backpack, that's the difference. That's the difference in the technology.
And here's something that you probably don't remember. I don't think you do. When I was in college, I interned at the local ABC affiliate there in Tampa. You know who back then the local women was the ABC CBS.
Were you with Jay Crawford or Al Keck?
Al Keck.
Keck, yeah. I interned under Al Keck at WTSP.
Right, me too. Yeah. So that was back in like 1982 or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
that's going back, man. That guy can tell some stories.
Al Keck is one of the best in the business. You know, I don't know what he's doing now, but he's still one of the best. Okay, off season now. We don't know about the situation with coaches. You talked about Liam Cohen. I'm going to get to that in just a minute, but let's talk about the players tonight. We know the Baker's going to be coming back. I guess the people that most fans are concerned about is Chris Godwin, Levante David, couple other people.
You've got a few guys. They're not. You just mentioned the two. Biggest names probably. Godwin's situation is, what is it? How is his health, and what is that going to cost salary cap wise? Levante's situation is he's been playing on 1-year deals now for.
Why is that?
It's got to be 3 years. I think he's on the verge of retiring, and I think he makes a decision every offseason. He's 13 seasons in. He's closing in on the Bucs record for seasons play, which I don't think is attainable anymore. It's Derek Brooks. You're right. I don't even think Rondé Barber got there. It's so Levante's on that list. Mike Evans will soon be on that list in a couple of years. But I think he just wants to do a check and how he's doing and how he's doing physically. He took it was a bizarre moment there. That 3rd and 2 play I was telling you about where Jaden Daniels escaped from Kalijah Cansey. At the end of the play, someone, it might have been Vita Vea when they were making a tackle into the sideline, rolled up on Levante's leg.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yes, and so he was visibly bothered by it, and it so much he came off the field, and I'm wondering, had the Bucs won the game, what his injury report status would be this week, because his knee was rolled up on. You're thinking, all right, best case scenario, maybe some type of sprain, but I'm not sure he would be on the field if they played in Philly this weekend, because that was something at the time that didn't seem very significant because of what was happening. But I noticed, I go, he doesn't look right. So, yeah. But after the game, he's walking around. He was available after the game in his locker, so that was a good sign. It wasn't like they had to take him away and get him an X-ray or an MRI or something right away. So something to think about when he examines his own health. He's also, everybody talks about Mike Evans, guy's pretty much already a Hall of Famer. Levante David's closing in on a Hall of Fame worthy bit resume. He's already got numbers and tenure and that backs him up. He's going to be in a situation where they'll say, oh, he's in a small market, blah blah blah. He's going up against a good Hall of Fame class, but he's Hall of Fame worthy. There's guys with less numbers at his position that are in. So interesting, I think.
I'm going to tell you a great story. By the way, Lucas of WFLA-TV, sports director of WFLA-TV, home of the Bucs station, flagship TV station. Does all the preseason games. Dan does the sideline, does a great job. I was doing I was trying to get ready for my show here tonight, wondering what I was going to say and all, and I had a brain, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, Mike and Chris, things work out. Mike and Chris probably could be in the Hall of Fame if things work out the way they do,
yeah.
depending on when they retire. But I couldn't figure out Mike's last name because I had a brain for it. I couldn't figure out what the hell his last name was. Had to take me a few minutes to figure out his name, but it was just so funny and all. So, but
you got to hit the Joe, man. That's what you got to do.
I know. I tell you what, man. I'm like, what? How could I forget Mike Evans' name? It took me a few minutes to figure it out. And now,
Animal Mike Evans is at now at 106 on his career touchdowns.
Yeah.
He's coming up on Tony Gonzalez. He's got a little bit of time. He'll get it next season, but there's a little bit of a gap there. Mm-hmm. He's 9th all time. But he's now going to catch. He's been passing Hall of Famers.
Yes, he has.
He's getting ready to catch a couple of guys who are not in the Hall of Fame. Larry Fitzgerald's one of them. But he's going up this list, and I don't know. I think it's a great thing to ponder where he's going to wind up, because he's at 106. How long does he have left? That's a fair question. He's played 11 seasons. And Jerry Rice is at 197. Evans wants to catch that.
I don't know about that. That's touchdowns, right?
Yeah, touchdown catches. So he wants to catch 197. He's sitting at 106.
You're talking about 91.
You're talking if you catch 12 a year, that's 5 years, and now you're 60. So you're still 30 away.
I don't
know. He's got to do something. He's got to do something out.
But you know what? You got to admire him for the effort that he wants, the goals that he wants to set, because that's what Mike Evans is.
Yeah, I agree.
For Florida Gator fans, the Buccaneers made a signing of Michael Pratt, quarterback, for this team. Is that signaling the end of Kyle Trask in Tampa Bay? I mean, how they take
that's a good question. Trask's contract is up. He's
Right.
coming up on free agency, so we're going to find out. And by the way, Pratt was one of their 17 futures contracts after the season, so he's going to
Right.
be in the offseason program. I think I personally I like Kyle Trask. I
I
like
do
where he
too.
is, but he's got to be thinking I got to have a shot somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know where that is, and I don't know what his market value is. I would think that the Bucs would be willing to let him test the market,
Yeah.
and then make him a fair deal to stay. But
That's what I'm thinking too.
I'm not really sure. But he's, he can't. He's been under 3 coordinators, and he's adapted very well to the system. And part of the reason I think that the current offense fits is because he played well in it, especially in the preseason, 2 years in a row. Because Dave Canales tweaked it to what it is. Liam Cohen has made a few changes, but it's mostly the same system. He's doing well in it, even though it was tailored towards Baker.
Right. Let's go. So we talked about this. We talked about this earlier. Hang on, I'm trying to do something here. Just a minute here. We talked about this earlier, and let's get right into it. Liam Cohen possibly becoming Jaguars head coach. Tell us more details about what happened.
Well, Liam Cohen linked to the Jags immediately. They posted on their social media they had asked permission to meet with him, and so now they've had his meeting. He was the 6th candidate to be interviewed for the job, so you can read into that however you want. But it was also when he was available after they were done. Had they been playing this week, he wouldn't have had a meeting in Jacksonville. The other guy that has interviewed, very interesting, or is getting ready to interview, is Todd Monken.
I saw that.
So I think Liam Cohen, if he's not the leader in this, in the clubhouse, if you will, that he's got to be up there. But Todd Monken might have a shot to do.
Were you kidding me? Were you kidding me when you said that they interviewed him for 10 hours?
He was there in the afternoon. These are reports, and it went well past midnight.
Oh, wow.
So that's got to be, you would think it's got to be a welcome, a dinner, a deep discussion, and then hashing some things out till after midnight. I mean, the good thing is, I don't think a lot of this preliminary stuff took place when he was game planning for the Commanders. I don't think that was a distraction.
No, I don't think so. I think Liam Cohen called a great game plan as well.
Yes, so I think that,
I think that the Bucs are going to go to Liam and say, "Look, you have a great situation with Baker. Stay on with us, and we give Todd one more year, then you take over." I think that's a game plan for the Glaciers and what they want to do.
Possibly, I don't put that out of the realm, because I think I think Bowles wants to get the defense fixed. I think he's going to have to do that. He might have to tweak some of his staff. He's loyal to his guys, his coaches. He may have to make some changes that he doesn't want. You have no choice. It's your job at stake.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think they're gonna make some changes on personnel as well. One of the free agents is Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
I saw that.
I don't know. I just don't know. That it's a huge debate. I don't know if it's a debate more than it's just a question in the minds of fans. Is it worth a second contract or not? Because
I think he is.
I think so, but
played well.
I think so because their depth is not secured.
Yeah.
The guy Yaya Diaby came in last year and just solidified. But even that, this is not a strength on their defense, and it should be. It's unfortunate. Anthony Nelson, another free agent, as a guy I absolutely think they need to bring back. So I don't know and then of course they're going to address that. They'll probably address edge rusher in the draft if they can. So it's going to be an interesting decision on Tryon-Shoyinka.
Interesting decision. I got about 30 seconds, 45 seconds real quick. Latest on the Rays. They said that they want the city of St. Pete to fix Ray J, but not Ray J, but Tropicana Field by the end of the year. Tell us real quickly what's going on with that.
Well, the bonds are approved for that. There's nothing has started yet at the Trop. I think it is the goal to have it up and running for 2026. This
Okay.
I don't think there's another alternative. This experiment over at Steinbrenner Field, while it's going to make Tampa fans happy for the short drive, it is quite an undertaking from my understanding, what I've been told. They're going to flip this stadium. It's going to be a Rays look. There won't be any Yankees signs or anything around the place. I mean, that's going to be weird, especially for Yankees fans and the organization. But
yeah,
this is, I'll just use this term. It's just inconvenient for a lot of folks to make this happen. And I'm not going to blame the Rays. I'm just saying that the situation they're in, they have got to do it. But I think they're going to look at this once this gets going and go, well, this is neat, but it is not sustainable, especially from the Yankees organization perspective. And so the Rays got to go somewhere.
But let's keep in mind too, with the Yankees, they offered them to do this. So be careful what you wish for. And now, and now this is it.
Well, I would think the generosity is honest, but I think it's also like, okay, we're gonna throw you a bone here for this season because you're in a jam, but get your place fixed for 2026. And I think everybody wants that. I was originally against fixing the Trop. I thought just break ground on the new ballpark, get it done. Maybe play at Disney for 2 seasons, but I'm coming to see now that the Trop is a sore subject in this area politically now, and again, and from Ray's ownership, that I think people just want to see it fixed and get back into it, which is weird, isn't it? People were laughing at the Trop. Now they're cherishing the Trop.
Really, real quick, they're still planning on breaking ground on the new stadium, right?
That's the plan. That's the plan. But until you know how it works, Animal. Until the shovel's in the ground, till you see a shovel in the ground, I will believe it when I see that.
Well, listen, I want to thank you for joining me this year. You have been fantastic. I know the times where I've probably been an inconvenient, speaking of which, but listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me this year. You've been fantastic. I made you an off-season special, something like that. I'll look you up if you're available.
Perfect. I really appreciate the time and checking in on us. And I know you missed the warm weather, my friend.
Oh, tell me about it. Yes, I do. Tell me about it. Dan Lucas, News Radio, News Channel 8, WFLA-TV. Dan, thank you so much. God bless him. Thank you,
Joe. Be good.
Bye-bye. That is Dan Lucas joining me on this edition of Animal Half Full Cup of Joe. Great guy. I just love Dan Lucas. And we're going to find out with this Bucs team what happens with them. And it's going to be very interesting. Make no mistake about it. Always a gentleman. There's never an inconvenience. But a man that goes to the ends of the earth for a half full cup of Joe. And, a lot of times we've had this man on during the course of the year, and I thought to myself, what better way to close out the year than to have the man on that actually opened up for us at the beginning of the year to close out the season? None other than senior writer, editor of Gator Bait magazine, one of the best knowledgeable people in the business, and the only man that's gone into a hardware store in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and ordered a moon pie and Aussie cola. Yes, he is Lauren Meadows, and I'm sure you did that a few times today, right? Uh-oh. Hang on, what do we got here? Oh, hang on, hang on, Lauren, hang on. I got you muted for some reason. Hang on.
My bad, I got you. You there?
All right. Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so as I said before, probably you've gone into a hardware store a few times today and ordered moon pies and RC colas.
I do like RC cola, not a moon pie guy though, but checking out the sights and sounds a little bit on in Tuscaloosa. Actually, Don Staley and the Gamecocks are in town, so actually pretty packed going into the can't remember the name of the Coliseum there, but going.
I can't either.
And so, yeah, I mean, it was nice sight. Definitely, you understand the pageantry and the history here in Tuscaloosa when it comes to Alabama and a lot of their different sports. Great facilities, but be ready to get back to Alachua County tomorrow. So I've had quite enough of spent probably a day longer than I planned to be here, but headed home tomorrow.
Well, be sure you shower off 2 or 3 times when you get back home. You don't want to have that. You don't have that Alabama stink in Gainesville, son. And of course, I know why you're there. So my condolences. We won't get into that. 2024 is come and gone for the Florida Gators. It's been I think it's been a successful season. I don't know how you feel about it. But I think for the most part, this has been a successful season on the field and some of it off the field as well. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But first, on the field, 8-4 in the regular season. They win the last 4 games of the year. And it's like, okay, now for the Florida Gators, they're starting to build on something that they have a good future to look to.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I had them at 7 wins going into the season. They basically got 7 in the regular season and then an 8th, which I thought they would get in a bowl game because I thought at 7-5, they would be a pretty decent football team, which they turned out being actually, I think, a little better, probably playing as well as almost anybody in the SEC by the end of the season. Defense kind of came alive. So, yeah, I mean, I think it was where I thought they would be, obviously, with Graham Mertz in the fold, maybe the whole season. You might have had maybe a win or 2 here or there. But, I mean, for them to basically step up the way that they did against Georgia, continue to play hard, continue to play well, minus the Texas game, which I think was an outlier, but obviously wins against Ole Miss, LSU, when LSU was looking at the playoff. And then, beating a solid, I wouldn't say great, Tulane team in the Gasparilla Bowl, and then finishing off the recruiting season with a bang, finishing with a top 10 class, grabbing some guys out of the transfer, lost 17 in the transfer portal. But I think they replaced it with some people that they feel like can come in right away and help them. Got kind of a pickup when guys like Austin Barber and Jake Slaughter, Tyreek Sapp decided to return to school. A little bit surprised at Shamar James, but hey, he's got to do what he's got to do. You got Turner coming back from injury, the season-long injury at the safety position. Jordan Castell, Devin Moore returns at corner. Those young guys at linebacker, I think they're really excited with Aiden Childs and Miles Graham. So LJ McCray on the edge. I mean, it was a good year to get 8 wins with this schedule and to start the way that they started and to get 8 wins where basically, early on we were hearing the next loss is the last loss for Billy Napier. I mean, obviously some work to do and the schedule once again is daunting, but Billy Napier at least bought himself until week 3 of next season because they definitely should take out LIU and South Florida to begin the year, and then they go to LSU, and that's when things get interesting.
I was surprised looking up the schedule. I was surprised that LSU was bumped up to the first game in Tennessee next to the last. I mean, that really shocked me.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, they mix and match, and that's the one thing I don't particularly care for with the SEC schedule is, for me, for you, guys that have followed the Gators for years, that Tennessee game, that's the 3rd week in September. No matter what
tradition.
When LSU was always around that 2nd weekend of October. So kind of messing with some of the traditional weekends. They're already messing with some of the rivalries, but messing with some of the traditional weekends. I mean, when Tennessee comes to town in November, it just ain't even going to seem right.
No, it's not
always so early. But yeah, they mix and match the schedule, and I think that makes it favorable. Even though they actually managed the tougher part of the schedule better than I thought they would, because when you looked at Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, so on and so forth, back to back to back to back, you're like, wow, that's going to be tough. But now it's kind of hodgepodge together. So I think they have a little rest in between here and there in some places. But yeah, that Tennessee game the week before Tennessee doesn't make much sense to me. But week before Thanksgiving, doesn't make much sense to me.
But you know what, though? It adds to the intrigue and the excitement, and it just, I don't know what to tell you. We saw where a few players have left, including Shamar James, decided that he wanted to enter the transfer portal, and several other people. But for the most part, everybody stayed. And I was intrigued that, they're starting to, we have not heard much about the coaches until today. I don't know if you know this or not, but they've signed running back coach Julian Jaluke, I believe his name is, the running backs coach.
Jabbar Jaluke.
Jabbar Jaluke, they signed him today to a 2-year contract extension on 3. So they've signed him. So they're starting with the coaching staff about who's going to leave, who's going to come back. Right. Everybody's saying that Billy's not going to hire an offensive coordinator. But, Lauren, I look at all this and I say to myself, look, this team played very well the last 4 games. Why would you want to mess something up that's starting to work good for you?
I don't think. Right. I don't think they will. I mean, I'm one of those people that the only thing I say about a guy like, the only thing about Billy Napier being the offensive play caller is the fact that there's so much that goes on during a game that as a head coach, to me, I think it's just hard. But I think for Billy Napier, he feels like it works for him. Obviously, Florida has bigger issues, I think, than offensive coordinator. I think, they need to continue to get better on defense. They haven't been bad enough on offense where I think he, quote unquote, needs to fire himself. And it'll be interesting to see how he plays with if he plays to what some people deem as a little bit more of DJ Lagway's strengths with some of the read option game and some of those things. But, we'll see. I'm going to be like most people. I just wouldn't hold my breath. People fall in love with these hotshot offensive coordinators or these names, but none of those names, even if Billy Napier decides to go in that route, none of those names are going to resonate with most of the fans or the people that think they follow football. They will maybe be a good offensive mind, but it won't be these hotshot hires that everybody throws out like these guys are just so much better and that kind of thing. So I think they'll continue to game plan by committee, with guys like Rob Sale and, and others, Russ Callaway, and, and just continue to, Jabbar Jaluke, who's a former high school head coach, give everybody's input, put it together, and then Billy will continue to be the primary play caller going forward. I really think that's going to happen. I think they may try to make a splashy or higher, maybe with that last defensive spot, depending on who stays. But, for instance, if you think about it, there's Mike Peterson. I don't think he's going anywhere. That would kind of be almost like PR suicide. He just went into the Florida Georgia Hall of Fame, 14-year vet from Alachua County, born in Gainesville, played at Florida. I would find that hard to believe. And actually the job he did with the edge rushers, Chapman and Harris are still under contract. So they really have to hire a defensive guy. So really the only guy that would maybe be in jeopardy of leaving would be Rob Sale and Billy Gonzalez. And you don't want to get rid of Billy Gonzalez. And you don't want to get rid of Rob Sale. So, Rob Sale's his guy. That's his right-hand man. So unless Rob Sale would choose to go to the NFL, I don't think we're going to see the staff changes that people think, because Ron Roberts, I think, is still under contract. And like I said, Chapman and Harris are. So, so that's all, because I think it's Gonzalez, Sale, Jaluk, and that's it, right?
Yeah. But there's one noticeable guy that left. Also, I won't say Austin Armstrong, but that's not
Armstrong, but he's been going. That's what I'm saying. They have one more position on defense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's why I wanted to get to the Armstrong departure. What do you know about that? I mean, was it something that Armstrong felt like he just wanted to move on? Was he upset with Ron Roberts? I mean, what was going on there? Do you know?
I think that he wants to call and control his own defense. And I think it was more of a partnership between he and Roberts, whereas I think at Houston, he will have the defense, and it will sink or swim with him, period.
He went to Houston. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that's where, so he'll be at Houston, and it'll sink or swim with him. And we'll see how it goes.
One of the more interesting aspects now is they've started off-season workouts, and they're starting the identity. I think it's called identity phase, the first part of it. And I noticed Billy Napier's out there with the guys. I mean, you don't see a coach out there with the guys. That usually supposed to be a strength and conditioning coach.
I'm sorry. Say again. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, you know that the Gators have started their off-season workouts now.
Right.
And they're starting with the identity phase, and you're seeing Billy Napier out there leading the charge. And I always thought that when you do off-season workouts, that'd be under the strength and conditioning coach.
Well, it is, but they do some of the group stuff. You don't usually see the coach in the weight room. But when they do some of the mat drills, as people call them, or the agilities and all that, I mean, all the coaches are out there then, it's just the weight room portion, the strength coach. But usually when they're doing the mat drills and some of the one-on-one type stuff that they do, bull in the ring type, different type of deal, whatever people call them, push the man out the bucket, whatever, that's the position coaches and the head coach is usually there to kind of handle that thing. I think they get a certain number of hours that they can be with the guys there. Obviously, no ball can be in play, but and then the weight room portion, that's where you see your strength coaches and things like that. And that's where they spend. When people talk about strength coaches being with them in the off season, it's more the weight room type of, maybe individual agility drills type of things. But when they do the team building, as Billy Napier likes to call his identity phase, the coaches can and want to be there, for that.
Have you heard when you talk to the players, what is their take on the off-season workouts? Do they like it? Do they dread it? I mean, is it like, this is something that's good. This is what we need. I mean, what do they say about that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's a catch-22. I mean, you don't like it. I mean, as a former college athlete, college football player, you don't like it, but it's part of building to a greater goal. I mean, and so it's like one of those things where you once you start, a lot of times those things happen at 5:30, 6 a.m. You don't want to get up and things like that. But once you get your juices flowing, you get loose, the competitive juices start flowing, you start getting back into the mode of, okay, let me see if I could test my will against another player, a buddy that eventually I'm going to come to lean on. I mean, it just goes with it. It's never easy. It's meant to be tough, but I mean, I just think it's one of those things. It's par for the course. It goes with the job, and that's what I think that's something. I mean, nobody really. I mean, there may be some crazies that love that type of stuff and look forward to going, but nobody. I mean, if you could get big, strong, faster, and build that grit without going through it, you would, but you can't. Yeah. So it's necessary to get there. So
We saw some changes taking place off the field. Bree Fuente, or however you say her name, she has left the recruiting department to pursue further opportunities. But it's like they don't. They
Bree Wade.
Yeah, Bree Wade. Yeah, she's with the Florida Collective,
Yeah,
or
Florida
whatever you
Victoria.
call it.
So yeah, she
Florida,
will be. I think in a management marketing type position with. I saw her at the basketball game a couple weeks ago when they first announced it, and so she's more into she gonna still be schmoozing, but more on the NIL side now, not the recruiting side. Katie Turner is still in play with the recruiting, right. And but she is now Bree is now in the market. They had some adjustments there. I always get her now. I'm gonna just say her first name. Young lady named Lisa was promoted as well. That was kind of their community outreach person within the NIL. She was promoted as well. They brought Bree in. They did a couple renaming, to maybe pay some people a little bit better and that kind of thing. But the big addition was Bree Wade leaving the Florida recruiting side and now moving into the marketing management type side with Florida Victorious.
Was this her deal, or did Florida Victorious come to her?
My guess is Florida Victorious came to her, or maybe there was a need. And you kind of get the best with both worlds. Now you got Katie Turner in recruiting, and now you got Bree Wade, who does a great job in the Florida Victorious. So it's a win-win for Florida athletics and Florida football. So I'm gonna venture to say maybe someone within the football organization thought, "Hey, she'd be a good place here." And now we got a little bit of both on both sides.
Speaking of other recruiting off-season news, by now Dan Mullen's the new head coach with UNLV, and you see where he's brought in some of his players from Florida to UNLV. I don't know if you've seen this or not. I mean, I find this to be very interesting.
Well, I saw Chief Borders was one.
Yes,
I see that right. And then who else? Did I see Dewan Black or no?
I think so. Yeah, I think Dewan Black joined them too. Yeah. So I found that, but I also saw where Lee Davis is now back with Dan Mullins at UNLV. So I found that to be interesting too. Lee Davis.
Oh yes, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's when it comes to recruiting. I mean, he feels like Lee is you talking about the female, the young lady in recruiting? Yes, it was Bagley, right? Lee Bagley. She got married or something like that, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah. Lee Bagley.
I mean, she's been with him everywhere he's been, basically since Mississippi State. So obviously, he feels like she can really help, continue what they've had some good things going at UNLV, but continue to build on that. And I mean, I like Coach Mullen. I think he does a great job with the offense.
I hope he does well.
I think he does. It's a good fit. It'd be interesting to see what his staff looks like when it's all said and done, who he brings along and that kind of thing. If he'll go back and, guys like Greg Knox and some of those guys are back at Mississippi State. I wonder if he's going to try to grab some of them and bring they're in off-field roles at Mississippi State. If he tries to bring them back to, with him with on-field roles at UNLV. A couple guys that were with him at Florida were at Mississippi State and off-the-field roles. I know Greg Knox was one of the prominent ones. If he'll try to maybe bring him back and get him back on the field at UNLV.
Juan Meadows of Gator Bait Media Magazine joins us on this edition. We got just a couple more minutes here to go. Let's talk a little bit of hoops. Florida Gators, 5th-ranked team in the country. I mean, Todd Golden has these guys on another level. But man, that game last night, the other night, that was a tough one for them to swallow.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the news. I guess in a bad news, and I guess it's breaking news. Florida assistant Torian Green has been accused of sexual assault.
I was going to get to that. Yeah, I was going to lead up to that. But as far as we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I saw the game the other night, and it's like Florida was never in sync the entire game until very late, and it's like it was wake up call late in the game. Now you're going to have your wins, you're going to have your losses. I get all that, but it just like, dadgummit, I wanted to beat them,
Well, yeah, I mean it's one of those things where you can't. I mean, the SEC is tough. I mean, the premier conference this year in basketball. And you got to get your home wins. You cannot surrender home losses, or I mean, it's just going to affect everything. It's going to affect your seeding for the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament, where you finish. And Florida could easily win the SEC regular season title, win the tournament, but you have to hold serve at home, because going into someone else's gym, it's just going to be tough. It's going to be a tough road to go in this conference trying to get road wins. So you see them drop a game to where, for the first time, I think it's the first game or second game all season, where they were out rebounded. I mean, it just, turned the ball over. Clayton missing. I mean, at one time, Clayton made 50 something. I mean, almost close to 50 free throws in a row. And he's missing, he got fouled on a 3-point shot late at key moment.
I know.
2 out of 3. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like, you have teams that are successful, but the best teams are able to handle that success and continue it. It's almost like they're not handling the success very well as a unit, which I thought they would. Very mature basketball team, seemed to be in sync. And then you had that the other night, and it was just like, wow, this is not, it looked bad. I mean, it really did. And they still had an opportunity to win the game, and you got to win some ugly games. But, losing that game at home, it was not good. They are going to have to come out with a different mindset against Texas on Saturday. I mean, it's a little later start. I mean, it's 4:00 start, so they can kind of get the juices flowing a little bit better. But I mean, to lose, if they lose at home to Texas and drop a second straight at home, I mean, starts to change the narrative. I mean, you talk about being off that second line as a number 2 seed. Now you're a 3, maybe a 4. Then things get dicey, man, when you get into March. So they need to kind of get back to mojo, find what they had against Tennessee and Arkansas, and get back to it against Texas on Saturday.
Well, speaking of things that are dicey, let's get back into it. The breaking news: Torian Green, the Florida assistant, accused of sexual misconduct. You also caught the Todd Golden deal that has not been resolved yet, as far as I know. Maybe you have more information on that. I mean, off the field, I think, the Florida AD, Scott Strickland, has got to be concerned about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, anytime you have a Title IX lawsuit and then you have sexual misconduct and some of those things, I mean, it's just not a good look for this basketball team that, the program as a whole. Take the team out of it. I mean, you have this basketball team that is now embroiled in 2, it's tough, man. And I like Torian, and I mean, we don't have all the facts. You never know.
No. And we want to make clear we don't have all the facts. These are just reports.
No. It's just bad. It's bad publicity, and that's never good. And these are the kind of things that shake up an entire athletic department. And when you have these situations that happen, you're looking at guys like Scott Strickland and others that, depending on what they knew, what has been said, how it's handled, will be very, very, it'll be examined closely. And, we're about, 60 days from a new president probably. And, that those are not good things that you want to have going into a president's new tenure. And so, it's just unfortunate. I hate it for both gentlemen that I have a lot of respect for. Obviously, Florida fans, have a special place in our heart for Torrin Green. So I'm not going to say I hope it's not true. What I'm going to say is I hope it's just a misunderstanding and everybody can just get back to the sports part of it. But obviously, unfortunately, not a good. I don't even like talking about that kind of stuff. But I felt like,
well, and that's fine. But you mentioned also a Title IX lawsuit. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
What's that now?
Title IX lawsuit that you mentioned a moment ago.
The Title IX lawsuit is what with Todd Golden. It's that's kind of it's a civil, obviously, type of lawsuit, but it deals with more of a fair treatment of women type of situation. So that it can cover a lot of things, but it also in a lot of ways holds the school accountable, or there's some accountability from the school with that, or so. But that's ongoing as well. So I mean, obviously, all this stuff will be figured out at some point in time, but with Florida kind of sitting there ready to either take a big leap and get themselves back to national prominence, I hate that that's in the backdrop, and mainly for the young men of the program who just want to play basketball and try to be the best that they can be.
30 seconds real quick. Give me a prediction for the offseason for the Florida Gator football team. Give me something that's going to shock or just stun everybody in the offseason.
That's going to shock everybody?
Yeah, I mean, just something. I mean, just something that's going to,
as far as shock, I got nothing really. The only thing I could say is I think there's going to be, and it may not be a shock, I just think people are used to this in the off seasons. I think you're going to have limited staff movement with the Florida Gators. I think you're going to have a lot of people staying in place in their positions. Like I said, maybe add a defensive coach, and that'll be about it. So I don't think you're going to see as much movement as people expect. You
want to hear a prediction for me?
What do you think?
I'm gonna give you a big shocker right here, because he was in town a couple of weeks ago. Will Muschamp was in town a couple of weeks ago. I will not be surprised if there's conversations going on about Muschamp taking on a major role with this defense for the upcoming season.
Okay.
I
heard that was dead in the water, so that would be a shock, because we're told that dead in the water now. So.
Oh, okay.
So we'll
but Muschamp wasn't there just to relive old time. I mean, I think he was there for a purpose.
No. They might have had a conversation. Obviously, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with talking. But I had heard that is no longer a thing anymore. So, but we'll see. Well, that's why you call it a shocker. That's why it's a shocker.
I think the Muschamp. I don't think down the water. I think they wanted to die it down for now. I think Muschamp will have a definite impact on the Florida Gators. Listen, I know you got to get going and do your thing. I know I got to do my thing. So last show of the year, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I might do something after Orange and Blue, or maybe before Orange and Blue. Get a feel of what's going on with training camp. We might do something there. I'll let you know. Give you much more warning than I did last time. So
no worries.
So Lauren, again, thank you so much for joining me this whole year. You've been fantastic, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right, boss.
All right, thank you. Lauren Meadows. Yes, sir, I will. Lauren Meadows, the senior writer for GatorBaitMediaMagazine.com. Well, now our show finally comes to an end. And for both the Bucs and the Florida Gators, they had success in one term or another. For the Bucs now, it's about what's to look forward to. How do they adjust with the changes? Who will come? Who will go? Who would they pick up? Who did they look at in free agency? That's going to be something very interesting to talk about as they get ready for the 2025 campaign. For the Florida Gators, it's much of the same. Who's going to come in? Who's going to go out? Who's going to be entering the transfer portal? Who's not? I mean, all that's going to be decided here as we get going during the course of the off season. But to say it's going to be boring, no, I don't think so. This is going to be a very interesting off season, one that could very well start the upswing of the Florida Gators into SEC dominance for the upcoming season, and for the Buccaneers getting on that swing and taking that next step forward. And we're going to find all that out during the course of the year. Again, my thanks to Lauren Meadows. My thanks to Dan Lucas joining me all year. It's been great. Before I go, though, I can't stop without talking about the games that are coming up this weekend. And boy, do we have some great games. The best weekend in all of the NFL starts on Saturday, 3:30 Eastern Time. Chiefs Texans, ESPN. There will be no Manning cast for that game, which I think sucks. Saturday, and then let's see here. Then Saturday night, 7 p.m. Lions and Commanders. That game will be on Fox. Sunday afternoon on NBC will be the Eagles and the Rams. And then to cap it all off on Sunday night, the Bills and the Ravens on CBS. And of course, they have the champ. That, by the way, the NBC game, that'll be the last game for them for the upcoming season. Then of course, the Bills and the Rams capping off the night, and that's going to be a great 4-day weekend of football. I am definitely looking forward to it. I think the Ravens. I think it's going to be Ravens and the Chiefs and the AFC. And I think there's going to be I think it's going to be the Rams and the Lions playing for the NFC. And I'll tell you right now, Ravens, Lions, Super Bowl is going to be outstanding. And I think the Lions, by this much, pulls it out and they win the Super Bowl. But we're gonna find out. Guys, it's been great. I've had fun this whole year. Had a great time. I want to thank all the guests that have joined me this year, especially Lauren Meadows, Dan Lucas, and a lot of people. It has been great. Thank you for watching. We'll be back during the off season, and we may do something with the Barnstormers. We're gonna work on that coming up. You all have a great off season. Stay warm. Watch those Gators play basketball, and hopefully they go to the NCAA championship, because you're not a Gator. You're bound to be Gator bait. Been great. Y'all have a good one. I'm out of here. Make it a good one. And as I always like to say, if you're not a Gator, you're primed to be Gator bait. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining Joe Fulford on Half Full and a Cup of Joe. Don't forget to tune in next time for more football talk, analysis, and fun. Follow us on social media to stay up to date on all things Half Full and a Cup of Joe. And remember, always keep your cup half full and your team spirit full. See you next time.